featured review this week is looking at a movie just came out in theaters this weekend that is featuring a director, a filmmaker that is always fascinating to talk about, and that is one M Night Shyamalan, and we are talking about Old, his latest feature. I will talk about this one first. Written and directed by M Night Shyamalan, based on a graphic novel. And this movie talks about a group of people who go on vacation. They go to this beach, and they realize that they are all starting to rapidly age once they get to the beach. And they come up with it's about a half hour is 1 year is what they kind of figure out. And they are scrambling to try and find ways to stop it, ways to get out, ways to get off, and how to. What's going on? Is there somebody watching them? There's mysterious things happening on the cliffs around them. What is really going on this beach? When it comes to M Night Shyamalan movies, there are really like two things that make or break his movies. One, do you accept the whole premise of the movie, and does it work? And the second is, does the payoff land? Because all his movies kind of have a similar formula. They bring about this fascinating, weird thing, and do you accept the reality that you're given, and the payoff, the twist or whatever, does it land? It's a very simple I'd say one of the more simple concepts that he's had in his movies. There's people on a beach. They're getting old. It's a pretty simple concept. I think the payoff lands pretty well. I did not see it coming, and I thought it made sense. I thought it worked. I'm giving it 3 stars. And his dialogue is sometimes unbearable, but you can get through it and you can understand it to get to the end. There's some great actors involved in this movie. You've got Gael Garcia Bernal, Vicky Krieps, Rufus Sewell, Alex Wolff, Thomasin McKenzie, Eliza Scanlon. So some recognizable faces that do their thing. And I like this movie. I thought the premise was simple. The payoff I didn't see coming, but it made sense and it worked. I mean, it's not Sixth Sense or anything like that, but it's a solid movie. It's a good 3-star movie. That's where I'm at with Old. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, I've always been a defender of M. Night Shyamalan. I actually think he's one of our auteurs at this point. There's recognizable stylistic flares with him, whether you like it or not. I think he gets hindered by the fact that he is horrible at writing dialogue, as you kind of alluded to, Terry. I mean, he's like George Lucas. You got to throw out the dialogue. It just doesn't work. It's almost like even Howard Hawks and Nicholas Ray, they weren't great with dialogue either. But from a cinematic standpoint, visually, this is a really well done movie, although it does feel as at times that he's being strung by the fact that it's a PG-13 movie, so he can't really show some of the more graphic aspects of the story. This movie was interesting. I think the premise of this movie had me very interested. And I gotta say, I think the resolution and the explanation for this movie is actually pretty good. I was not expecting it to quite be what it was. I mean, you could kind of get hints of it. This is also kind of the only movie I can ever think of where it might have actually been better to watch this on HBO Max instead of in a theater. In part because if you were to go into this movie with low expectations, it would probably be better than going into this movie with relatively high expectations like I had. Because I like Split. I think some of his movies are really good. This movie didn't really deliver, though. I think that the problem with this movie is that it gets really muddled in the middle. There are stretches of this movie that seem to go on for a really long time, and the characters kind of do things that are inexplicable. For example, they always say, let's stay together, and then they never stay together. There's also moments where this is like, did Shyamalan watch, the movie Cats? I mean, every single character in this movie introduces themselves and their occupation like 3 times. Okay, let's move on from that a little bit. It's also kind of unusual, the fact that some of the characters seem to age really fast. Others of the characters don't age really fast. That's more of an issue, I think, with the makeup, and it's just a weird kind of concept. So I can understand that it would be a little hard to show that in the kind of way that you'd like it to be shown, which leads me to my bigger criticism, which is that this probably should have been an animated movie, or it should have been a French movie. Maybe it should have been The Red Turtle. Then I definitely would have given it 4 stars. Actually, this movie is almost like Benjamin Button meets The Red Turtle. I like the resolution. If we want to go into spoilers, I can tell you something that I thought was really ridiculous about this movie. But I can't quite give it thumbs up, in spite of the fact that I think Thomasin McKenzie is a star. She's going to win an Oscar the next 10 years. I would put money on the futures line for that. She's amazing. I think Vicky Krieps is amazing. The rest of the actors, so-so. Like I said, HBO Max, I probably give this movie 3 stars. But it just, the horrible dialogue and the ridiculousness was just a little too much.
So you're giving it 2.5?
2.5.
Okay. And I will say, M Night Shyamalan always he has way too much of a Hitchcock complex, but he gives himself way too big of roles when he has his little cameos. That's yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with that.
Yeah, this one was fine. This
okay.
one was fine. He's given himself like major roles in other movies, and yeah. All right, Todd, where are you at on this one?
I don't like M Night Shyamalan at all. I think he has real issues. I don't think I'm overstating when I say he's obviously the worst director ever nominated for Best Director at the Oscars.
Oh, come on.
He's more concerned with like making sure that there's this giant fake mole on the children's face so it matches what Alex Wolff's face looks like than he is to actually making the movie make any sense. Like, and there's like this really long, slow build-up, and that's okay, but it doesn't really build up too much of anything. And the actors are all awful, like absolutely atrocious. Like, I mean, somehow Shyamalan is able to make these great actors act like they don't care. And like, I mean, like it was like The Happening in a way. Like, I mean, I actually kind of like Phantom Thread a little less because Vicky Krieps is awful in this movie. Rufus Sewell is terrible. Thomasin McKenzie is wooden and excruciating to watch in this. She clearly is only in this movie to make everyone know that she's an adult now. Like, I'm going to wear a really skimpy outfit so that I could be the romantic lead in a movie at some point, and I'm no longer the girl from Jojo Rabbit or whatever. Alex Wolff is painful to watch. Like, I mean, that's clearly the role that Shyamalan wanted to play. He even looks like Shyamalan. GGB is disinterested. And don't even get me started. Nikki Amuda Bird and Ken Leung, those are 2 of the worst performances I've ever seen. As that couple, like I don't know what the lady did, some sort of psychiatrist or something, and he was a nurse. It was like they were awful. Like, I mean, it was almost like, are they robots? Is that what the secret is in this movie? Are they robots? And plus Shyamalan, like, what's with the camera? Like he is like cutting and focusing like out of focus for no reason. Like there was a shot where it was like kind of focusing on like the water, but the people in the shot were all out of focus. I was like, what the hell is he doing? Like nothing really worked. It was like watching Bohemian Rhapsody and like how bad the decisions were and how amateurish the movie was being shot. And then the dialogue's awful. Like there was one part where he's like, or they're like, the dog has died, and then Rufus Sewell's like, but it was only just alive. I'm like, yeah, that's how death works, dumbass. Like, nice screenplay, M. Night, really. Like, I think the movie, it could have been cool if it leaned into the bizarreness more. Like Zach said, it should have been French. It should have been Alexander Aja or something, or like maybe even Eli Roth. Like, because there's some really like demented ideas that this movie has, and if it would have leaned in toward like the gore aspect more, it would have been pretty cool. And I did not like the ending and how over-explained it was. It was like,
yeah,
sorry to bother you meets like The Lovely Bones, but then it was like directed by Oliver Stone. Like, we're going to tell you exactly every beat of what this movie is about. And I don't know. I mean, Shyamalan didn't come up with the idea, which is probably why the idea of the movie is actually kind of cool. But there are a few things that I'll remember from this movie, but this movie's a piece of shit. It's 1 star.
Wow.
Okay. First, I think you might be the first person ever to say GGB in reference to Gail Garcia Bernal, but well, we'll take it. Yeah, I don't know. So some of what you said, I agree with, but you kind of expect a level of that going into a Shyamalan movie, and it's how much, like I said, you know the dialogue is going to be somewhat wooden, and it almost and the performances are going to be they've all kind of been similar in all of his movies, but they almost bring about this this atmosphere, this environment of otherworldly that he has in his movies, because there is this almost non-human dialogue and these robot performances, and it either works or it doesn't, and I think here it works. And I don't know, the payoff is over explained, however I think it works.
Yeah, my favorite. Oh, go ahead.
And I'm gonna say you should at least bump it up to 1.5 stars, simply because the Midsize Sedan is a great name for a rapper.
Damn it, Terry, you stole my point. I was going to say, any movie with a character named Midsize Sedan, I think, merits some sort of praise and the balls of that screenwriter to write a movie with a character that goes by that name. But I also have to say, I mean, I think this is a really good concept for a movie. I think the over-explaining, you're just talking about 1 30-second part of the movie. I was going to give this movie thumbs up. I really was, until the last 10 minutes. And I guess I'll try to be a little bit, not fully going into
We want to just
spoilers.
say, all right, hold on. We're just going to say it.
Okay,
Spoiler alert.
spoilers.
Here starts our spoiler review.
I was ready to give this movie 3 stars. I think Todd's review is ridiculous, although I do agree with him about the dialogue. Other than that, I completely disagree with everything he says. Particularly about Thomas and Mackenzie. That's just cruel.
Oh, she was the worst part of the movie.
She's amazing. She's really good in this movie. I even low-key have her nominated for Best Actress this year so far. Anyway, okay, so I mean, I'm going to defend Thomas and Mackenzie in every movie. Okay, the problem that I have, how did they get from point A to point B at the end of this movie? That is never explained. And the thing is, like, I kind of like how the ending doesn't really say, it doesn't, I was expecting the ending to be about how the beach is the way it is. It is not about that. And I kind of find that refreshing. It's more about why they're there. So if it's not about why the beach is the way it is, it should be about how they escape the beach. And they never show that. Like, I was stunned that was a gaping omission in this story. Had Night done something to show from point A to point B, this movie would be getting thumbs up. But I cannot.
They showed them escape.
How? How did they get?
It showed them get to the coral. It didn't show how they got from the coral
exactly
back to the resort.
I was expecting like a Truman Show type ending, like maybe they open a door or something. No, nothing. Just no.
They were in the middle of the water. All they had to do was swim to shore. They couldn't have been that far away.
No, back to the shore. They had to go around the cove.
That was a long way away.
Out of that beach.
And how would they get, even if they swam back to the shore, how would they get to the resort? They had to take a van there. I don't know. It just, that to me was like Monday Morning
off limits environmental
Shaggy Dog story. Like Knight needed to get the details right there. But anyway, going back to Todd's point, I think you're being way too hard on this movie, Todd. Although I agree, Todd, can you at least admit that like Jordan Peele could have made this a great movie? The concept, even the explanation, I think, is a really interesting approach. It's just M Night should not write dialogue.
And you shouldn't direct it. Like this should, like I said,
I thought the direction was okay. And are you talking about the blurred screens? Because one of the characters loses their vision. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Well, and then there's the one where they're all out of focus because they're in between the child age of the kids and the teenage of the kids, and they didn't want to show that because they didn't want to have like a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old version of every kid for every shot. So they just blurred him out for that one scene, and then all of a sudden, oh look, it's Thomas and Mackenzie and Alex Wolff.
Thomas and Mackenzie was in there before he was.
True. Yeah, there was another kid in there. I will say, on Twitter, it's kind of become a thing this weekend to post like 3 pictures. It would be post 1 picture and then post a picture of the beach from this, and then post another picture. So like Kate Winslet in Titanic, the beach, and then Gloria Stewart in Titanic. And it's like the beach turns so and so into what? I that's been a fun exercise that's been popping up on Twitter. And the other thing that I saw on Twitter that I thought was really interesting is Eliza Scanlon is basically turning into the female version of Sean Bean in that she dies in every movie.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that was her. Like I thought it was. I thought it was like Alison Pill. But
Yeah,
I
it
was
looked like if Alison
yeah.
Pill, if this movie was made 20 years ago, yeah, it's 20 years ago, Alison Pill.
I think my favorite line in the movie is when the little boy says, "Let's grow up and be friends together and pay mortgages."
Yeah.
Beautiful dialogue.
Yeah, I would agree that this movie would have been better in someone else's hands, but I don't know. There's a level of appreciation I have for Shyamalan, and that's why I gave it.
Well,
3
the
stars.
only Shyamalan movie I've given thumbs up to is Unbreakable. I think everything else is garbage. So
Sixth Sense. Well, Sixth Sense is a classic. But I loved Split.
No.
I think I might be the only person ever that will defend Lady in the Water.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
I liked Lady in the Water.
I saw
it wasn't great in any way, but
I saw Signs opening day and thought it was amazing. Loved
Signs
it.
ain't bad. Signs ain't bad.
I hate Signs and The Village and Sixth Sense. I can't stay awake during. It's just vapid and awful. And like I don't know, Split I guess is okay. The Happening is similar to this, I guess. But I mean,
I haven't seen The
watchable,
Village.
but-
I haven't seen The Happening.
The Happening's a good movie. I gave that thumbs up. But again, the dialogue is laughably bad. But if you can get
And
past
the
it,
actors don't.
the actors are
try.
bad too. But
And that's the same as this. Like they don't. They're just like there. Like it could have been anybody reading these words.
It's true.
yeah,
It's true.
But M Night Shyamalan is like the Les Miles of film directors. It's like, how are you actually a football coach who's been successful sometimes, but he has a track record somewhat inexplicably. So kudos to him.
All right. Well, this is in theaters right now. It's one that is only in theaters. I give it 3 stars. Zach gives it 2.5. Todd gives it 1. I definitely went in the wrong order there. I was trying to decide which one of you was going to hate it more. I picked the wrong one. So I should have known it was Shyamalan. Todd was going to hate it. Anyways, it's in theaters if you want to check it out, if you haven't done so already. I heard that it was barely beating out Snake Eyes for the box office crown this week. So make sure you check this one out. Old in theaters now. All right.